Welcome to the Magma Classroom. This particular classroom series focuses on the basics of digital painting, starting with the fundamentals of value, shapes, light, and color. We've done a good few apples and spheres already in previous lessons, tried our hands at some more interesting still life studies, broken down simple landscapes, and even run a gauntlet of timed exercises to speed up the learning process. This weekly hangout is intended for the determined beginner, and we'll take our time to explore each subject and learn together. I'm your host Ryan, the resident painter and caffeinated Wookiee at Magma, and while I grab a tea refill here, you can find all the instructions for joining me on the canvas in the description below. Ready your drawing tablet? We'll be getting started shortly. Hey everybody, welcome to the classroom. I'm Ryan, and I'll be taking you through another still life painting today. Last week we did landscapes, and I thought it'd be good to shift back to some still life studies. You can never do too many of these really. They're a good place to start focusing, to focus in on particular things that you want to get better at. I just need to find the reference image here for you. And in this case, there's a lot of different things. You could decide to focus just on value. You could instead try and get all your colors right, try and get things perfectly in proportion, finding different ways to do that. So it's kind of up to you. You can tackle all these things simultaneously. Once I put the reference image down here, as soon as I find it, here we go. Yeah. You will find instructions to join me on the canvas if you want to, down in the stream description. And then you can decide if you want to have your own canvas, you're welcome to, or you can paint on this one here with me. This is our reference image, which you would have seen in the thumbnail as well. Bit of an interesting one, bit tricky. You can take over any sort of space here. I'll add some canvases to the sequence, just in case you would rather go down there. And I'll paste the reference there for you too, so you can just take over one of those layers. Sometimes it's easier to just be on your own layer, without sort of trying to dodge anyone else or worry about taking up too much space. I'm going to make sure my comments are all working here. You are, of course, welcome to ask questions throughout the process. I'll do my best to spot them as they come up. But yeah, could take me a little while to respond. I do think for this, I'll take you through a little bit of the basic steps for tackling something like this. Break down maybe a little bit of what we did before with different exercises to try and just get familiar before diving into the main painting, right? And certainly for the last hour, I'll probably go quiet for the most part. I'm sure you'll be relieved by that point, and we'll just sort of zone into the painting, really try to like figure things out. But I'll talk through the beginning stages, because once we get through that, it's a lot of it just sort of rendering and looking at things in relation to everything else that you've put down already. So first, let's get some music, because one cannot paint without a little tune floating in the background. Let's see here. I just brought something in that we can loop. All right. Now I did. Yeah. I had to check this time that I actually enable permissions for everyone to own layers and be able to draw. Okay. Just let me know if the music is too loud, too soft, want it a bit louder. Okay. Still have steady time. Having gone through these, all the fundamentals that we've done so far, pretty much with what we've covered, you'll be able to go at any subject really. And it's kind of just up to you as to how deep you go. So instead of just learning something new here, it's really about just applying again what we've learned so far, because it takes a while for it all to settle in, right? So we keep doing these kinds of exercises. Right. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. Let's see. I'm gonna work on the right side of this. And while I normally work with just a simple round or square brush, there are other brushes available if you're here in the classroom on this particular canvas and in this particular art space. So yeah, if you want to use the texture brushes, you might find those quite nice to use, particularly when we're tackling this wall, which has got quite a nice subtle texture to it. Let's shift my comments. Okay, so I'm just going to I'll grab a thin graphite. It doesn't really matter. I actually don't want to start sketching it. I want to put down an underpainting. Not really necessary for this because we're probably not going to get a lot of texture coming through, but it's fine. I'm going to do it anyway because that's my standard mode. Let's see here. I'm going to make this nice and big. Don't need the pressure sensitivity there for this. If you happen to spot my canvas on the stream itself not updating, let me know. It shouldn't do that. It happens sometimes. Okay, so I'm just laying down a flat color because I don't like painting on white. It's terrible. In fact, I might even change this. I'll change this to a light gray in the overall background of the canvas. There we go, just dull that white out a little bit. You can, if you're on your own canvas, you can just use the full bucket, do the same thing. Now, first thing I want to look at is our values. So I'm going to squint my eyes here and see what's going on in the way of values. I've shifted this to grayscale mode, which you can do simply by going to View and selecting Show in Grayscale. I've set a hotkey for it because I do this all the time, and it lets me just flip back and forth between views and compare my values quick and easy. All right, so a lot of it is this sort of mid value. If I wanted to do this in let's do this. I'm going to do this on a separate layer. I'll do this quickly in grayscale just to get my mind familiar with the subject. So most of this is in a kind of let's set this to below because I want this on a separate layer. Most of this is a kind of mid gray. Okay. And then we've got some very clear darks and we've got some very clear light shapes here. But for the most part, it's all quite mid. So I'm going to drop these down so I can easily color pick from them. Use my square brush to start. There. There's my midtone. And I'm going to keep it to just 3 values to start off. Well, it's difficult to see in here. Let's go a little bit lighter. Okay. I know the dark value here is much darker, but I'm just keeping it simple with one thing for now. this will probably be a bit excessive, what I'm about to do, and that is shift it all into, put that whole recess into shadow, and I'll adjust that later. It's more just to get the shape down. Put myself first. Let's come a bit wider. If you're copying 1-to-1 of a photo, 1-to-1 in proportion, some people like to use a sort of grid system. If you're painting murals, for example, we tend to use a doodle grid, which makes it easier to apply things to a big wall when you're going from a piece of paper to a big wall. Other people like to do just a straight grid, where they'll draw a grid across a straight line. They'll draw grids across, get all their lines, and sort of measure things out that way in relation to one another, so that you know when you get to this line over here, you've got to have the top of the candle and so forth. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But it is one way. If you want to go that very precise, match the photograph proportion to a T, then you can do that. And now I know that's okay. Fine. We're going. Oops, it didn't work. This is more like that. And we have this. It's a little light on top here. That's probably too light. If I, hey, come on. We'll do something else to bring that thing forward. So we've got this coming through to not quite the turning point there. Something sort of like here. I'm just getting a rough sense of things, right? This is not, I'm going to restart this in a moment. But I just want to get a little sense of what the simplified value structure is. This could even come out a bit more, I think. It's also really light, the handle. I've got this cast shadow coming this way. So now it's very clear that we have a light source up from the top left. Okay, the overall wall is much lighter over here, and we've got this cast shadow in this direction. So we know where our light source is coming from, and we're going to have to stay consistent with that as we go. I'm going to just group these values together. This is also why we go with just a very simple 3-value scheme here. We can block out and group different values together a little more easily. And then from here we can start darkening. It'll sort of be like that. And this little section is obviously a bit lighter. And this area gets lighter too. Lighting on edges. Cool, so now I know that's the basic kind of shape structure of the piece. Now I'm not going to stick with this, we get rid of it. Switch back to color. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Obviously I could go deeper on the lights, stronger deeper into the shadows, stronger on the lights. Obviously when we start to make the piece more complex, the idea is we start simple, develop from there. And now I want to find the color which we've got here. Overall, now why didn't I start with this at the beginning? Because normally if I work with a textured brush, this orange, this burnt sienna-ish type of color would come through. That's kind of what I was going for here. Let's see if I can find this color. Something close to it. This is a blue-green something with a bit of yellow, orange in the left. That's fine. we'll get a base, and then we'll start adding these other colors in. Especially if you're using a texture brush like this, it'll be really nice adding in some of these other tones, these like little blues in the corners. If you've got like slight little flecks of warm orange in here. So yeah, we'll work with all of that. Ooh, waiting for servers, that's not what I want. Internet, don't behave. I just want to paint, man. Why has the internet gotta be like this? Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. Be back. There we go. Nope. Okay, my pen's not behaving. That's not the time for this. Waiting for server response. Okay. Cool. So I'm just loosely getting this in. I want a bit of that orange to come through, just because it adds a little bit of vibration to things. And I want to kind of work my way from the back forward. So I'm not going to get into putting down the objects just yet. I want to figure out a bit more of the interesting background wall texture. This probably could be a bit more yellow. And while I do have my brush set to its density, responding to pressure, for the most part I'm getting pretty opaque textures and strokes. That's a bit too light. Let's get down a bit. Okay, fit all this in the dark. I want to get some blue in here. Shift over. It's easy to go a little too light. We would remember that based on that quick value study we did, a lot of the color, a lot of this piece overall, in particular the wall texture, is very much in the sort of mid-value range. So you don't want to go too light. As much as this top left looks really light, you don't want to go too far. I might have actually gone too far for the most part there. Shift that down. It's little bits of orange. But it's okay for things to be a little bit randomized here. You just want to have the stuff show through. Yellow, I think. And just build things up. That's way too bright. It's desaturated, come down. Little bits come through later. Stronger bits. So for now, this is all going to look like quite a mess. That's fine. That's how this all starts. Even on normal canvas, make a mess first. Build things up, lots of nice textures, little bits coming through, and you layer on top of it all that texture and those different layers build up. That adds a nice history to it. Now, waiting for server response. We must have a lot going on the Magma server for this to be doing this. So now I'm looking at the shadow underneath, and because I want to get a rough blocking of these different shadow shapes. It's a bit more saturated, a bit cooler under here, but here seems much warmer. So you want to compare those sort of things. We've got this warm glow that's pushing into the shadow. So colors are a bit more saturated and leaning in the warm side. Whereas over here, it tends to get a little bit more desaturated, but cooler. It's sort of around the middle point over here. But it is much cooler there. So I'm going to come up a little bit. I don't want to go too dark too soon. Car shadows going a bit like that. And what I'll do after this point is I'll start to do a sketch on top of this, and then we'll start to tighten things up a little bit. One doesn't have to work this way. Normally people will do this straight after that underpainting. So with this burnt sienna sort of color, do a sketch on top of that, and then start dropping in color. I tend to bring in a sketch a little later on once I've got a background that I like. So get a little lighter up top here. Blue down here. And it's nice to sometimes just drop in quite an opaque color. Just drop it in. Shift. And then sort of blend it in a little bit. The rest, but you have that a little bit of a stronger color coming through. Could be darker actually. It's not a detail to spend time on right now. Okay, I can work with this probably. So what did we say here? So we got a shadow that starts off kind of, yeah, it's still pretty cooler range in terms of hue, but very saturated, of course, as a shadow. I don't want to color pick directly from that. That's not a good practice. 1, 2, 3. It's back on my eyedropper. Ah, no. I've probably made things too narrow, so I'm going to come out a little bit. And a warmer range. And this will a little bit. Just want this to be rough. Will bring warmth into that shadow afterwards because it's coming from the light. And then there's this thing over here. But let's get in. Let's make sure I actually do this correctly. I'm going to do it on a separate layer. So of course we've got this quite clear, straight line over here. And it's got a clear turning point. Let's come over a bit. Right there. Ugh. Some bad lines. This comes out a little bit. Just to get a guide. Blocking in those shapes. They have obviously got a bit too high on that other shadow. And I think this could even become a bit higher. And then we can give it a nice arch. So I was way off. I probably should. This is why maybe it's better to sketch first. If I look at where this top line sits relative to that sort of turning point, where the line is straight here on the edge of this this little recess here, we'll call it a specific term for little recesses in walls like this. It'll come to me. But it starts to then create a semicircle shape, right? So I want to see where that is. What's always good to do is to run lines through to see whether you're keeping things intact. Or you went too high there. If you want to be sort of accurate about it, checking these different points. Well, what does this corner look like in relation to where that point starts turning? Where does this intersect? Where is that position relative to the rest of the jug? What's actually happening there is the shadow. So terminate on the shadows of the. Good to know. Good to know. But what I was looking for, how much of a distance is here between these points? Even if I come through the middle, more or less, let's see where things are. So this would still come over that middle point a bit. And branch out. And this is one of those areas where it's okay to have these kind of chicken scratch type of lines when you're trying to find the placement of things. Because it's going to become a painting, it's going to be about broad strokes of paint. It's not about a line drawing. That, it's okay. Doing line art, you want your lines to be nice and tidy. This sits a little bit more forward on this ledge, which goes into here maybe. It's difficult to tell because it's so deep in the shadows. Have a sort of theoretical, there we go. We have a little point of reference here. This almost looks like it's just over. Anyway. You don't need to spend so much time on a sketch, but if you are trying to keep things accurate, then you do want to spend that time here. Especially when you have objects placed at different depths from your point of view, because they can overlap a little funny if you don't think about the 3D space. Because this is that's going into the background there. If this is placed a little further back, you can't have it overlapping it, because then it's pushing the thing out of the way. Because there's this rounded object sitting a little forward, and here, from the lip of that, this runs through that middle line. Let's press that down. Cast shadow there. I'm going to have a cast shadow down here. And then we've got our tomatoes, our juicy tomatoes. So it comes up a little higher. We've got that one behind it. It's too high. I think the problem is actually here. So I'll shift all that down later. Have that shadow cast a bit like that. It's more or less. See, I'm just looking at the points of reference here. As soon as you start putting something down, then you can assess, okay, that doesn't quite work over there. It's too far to the left, too far to the right. The angle of things doesn't quite line up. Checking all these different things. But you have to start making marks before you have those points of reference. This comes down. That, and the shadow is just off. Probably starting there. Good to know. So I think that's enough to sort of start painting with. This can maybe come down a little bit. It's not such a rounded. And gasp, I shall use an eraser. when I came across this image earlier, trying to decide what we would paint today, I must say this image was actually found quite intimidating because of the different lighting types. So we have the warmth from that candle, and it seems like it's cooler in the shadows here. Maybe still have a warm light, but then this shadow is warmer than the one like at the bottom. So there's some interesting subtle lighting effects going on across the piece. So I thought it would be a good challenging one for us to work on. It's maybe even too high. Let's see. But even, yeah, apply the principles that we've gone through already, and we will be fine. So now I'm going to start correcting what I was blocking it underneath. Let's pick a brush. No, I don't want a brush that changes size with pressure. I want something that changes its flow or density. Some slight changes in opacity when I apply less pressure. Okay, let's fix that up as well. Let's go warmer here. So orange there, shifting to a bit of a brown, quite dark. It comes over quite a bit to that other left lip of the jug. Okay, that'll do for now. If you want to start getting sharp edges, which we're going to do in a moment, this is where your lasso fill will, I mean, not your lasso fill, just your straight lasso tool, your selections, they will come in handy at that point. Yeah. Now I'm coming too far forward. Let's get the jug down first. Stay focused. It's pale blue, pale blue. There we go. Now, of course, it's got this lip that's got a little black rim about it. We can just see that inside it's a sort of white enamel. That we don't need to worry about yet. Get the broad shapes in first, as always. Then we'll bring that in. So with this, I made it too high last time. It's more or less the same color, but I feel like these should have a little bit more green in them. Just a tiny bit. And set on the brush size setting, so I can change that as I go. Okay, now we can come back to this red. Got the red in the candle. And the beauty of doing this all digitally, it's okay if I've messed up placement or coloring. It's easy to go over. That I'm sure I'll have to fix. One just peeking out over there. Yeah, that shadow comes a bit over the top there. Okay, that's perfect. We also have some of this distinct shadow there. So I have a shadow being cast to here. my other tomato, which could be bigger. Okay. My eyes, this could be a bit darker underneath here. So to do it neater, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my lasso selection. That wasn't very straight. Awkwardly placed here. Let's shift this up. Ah. I'm really struggling with a straight line today. Of course, I could just use a square selection. Now with that shape, I can do a crisper edge. Color pick. Stuck on a color picker. Stuck on the color picker. Nice work there, Bryce. A soft background. Oops. Now why? Oh, what do you? Technology is not on my side today, it would seem. Nope. What's it undo? Doing? Why is stuff misbehaving? Yeah, well, maybe I have to just put this back in place by eye. So be it. Fine, early stages of the painting. I'll pick my brush, that would be grand. If color pickers move on the wrong layer. Okay, now I don't really need the lines anymore, I would say, for sketch. So what one can do, I'll do that in a moment, is either just drop the opacity of them, drop the layer opacity, or just, I tend to drop the opacity and merge them down. You could do either or, one, just do one of them. I'll shift that down and I'll merge this again with my background, I'll say. I'm gonna have just a quick look here. Cool, we do have other people in other canvases, great to see. There is still another one there, so if anyone's watching and they want to grab another canvas, go for it. And I can also set up more if needs be. Join me on the same canvas. So this line should be a bit stronger. Actually, underneath here, seems it could be quite a bit darker. Just at the top. Fades out. Now the tricky part is all of this. Around the candle, this warm light, this green or orange on like a greenish wall. It's a little interesting. So I'm just going to drop down some color and see what happens. That's probably too bright. Some down. So because the shadows, ooh. Shadows also made to fade into the green a little bit. There's even a bit of blue in there, actually. Get a bit of that in. darker too, bouncing all over the place. How I roll. We also have a shadow that I hadn't over here, and that's this one just to the right of the bowl, and it even launches up a little bit here. Line to indicate the back, which I'll soften out. Okay, let's carry on figuring out this background. Orange, we've got a shadow that's cast here, which could be warmer. We've got a bit of orange that's scattered in here. It's a bit more yellow. So that warmth even spreads up into the top over here. Now this is obviously very strong for what I want to do, but I put down a strong thing first and then go over it so it shines through a little bit more. Waiting for server responses. Whew. The shadow is probably closer towards that. I think it's got a mixture of things going on here. So here it seems a bit greener. Zoom out a little bit. Tricksy stuff, tricksy stuff. So let's try and blend it in. I've been going in with quite a heavy thing here. Let's start to blend it in. So for the blending side of things, don't need a special blend tool. All you need to do is drop your opacity and your density a little bit, and then get control over your pressure. Then you can start to get really nice smooth transitions. I'm also taking note of the edge. Here there's obviously a change in value that's going between the edge of this sort of recess and then the outside of it. Why is that not painting over? There we go. This could be more towards yellow, I think. Let's bump up the opacity. So that's something we're always paying attention to, right? How edges are standing out is because of a change in value, change in texture or color, combination of those things. Usually it's a combination. Bigger. Probably do with a change of music soon. Okay, maybe I can add some form to this. But here's where, you know, when I was saying that you want to kind of work from back forward, this is pretty much why, because you have these objects that sit in the front and you realize, oh, that should be a bit darker, or you put things on separate layers. That's the other easier approach. But all painting is back and forth, so you're probably going to lose some of your edges and bring them back, paint over, which is just so much easier to do when you're painting digital. Don't have to wait for any paint to dry. Okay, let's change the music. Dived right in. Cool. So I don't need to be so zoomed in. So what's going on in these shadows? You can use the eyedropper to help you out when you're trying to figure out what's happening in the way of change in hue, change in value. Here I've obviously got a bit of that red coming through, reflecting on here. Now, obviously that's a strong mark. I'll push that back. But we are going to have some of that reflecting in there. Subtle things you want to take note of. But what's interesting is look at where I am on the color wheel. This is pretty much a gray. but it looks so much warmer. Grey, there's a lower value. Blue, slightly, but it looks so red. Okay, but what am I looking for here? In theory, it should obviously drop in value, maybe shift saturation down. Hey Feo, welcome. It's almost just a straight line down in value, gaining a little bit of saturation. So let's come up here, give it a little bit of extra saturation. Whoops, that's the wrong button. There. Strong at first, we'll push it back later. And then we have, so things lighten up a little bit. Here. So Feo, it's up to you if you want to paint on the same canvas or if you like to grab, there's one open canvas at the end there in the sequence if you want that for yourself. But of course, there is room here on the canvas to just paint along. Okay, so I've got a little bit over. Let's give it a color shadow. Trying my best not to look at things like tomato there, tomato there, tomato there, but trying to see things just as shapes and edges. Often easier said than done. This line is too far over. So I see there's a comment here on YouTube. Let's see what. Hey Manju, joining us for the classroom stream for a change. You're welcome to try your hand at the still life here. Let's go. That's why. It's resting on some sort of disc that's sitting a little forward. Interesting placement. Ooh, I'm getting a lot of lag and delay here. And then on top of this, time to start getting some neater edges, I think. Let's change my brush, into the breach. Nice. That's good. I'm glad it's giving off that sort of vibe. But doesn't quite suit the subject matter we've got here. But, oh, see, I made quite a skewed platform here, actually. Interesting how some things only pick up much later. Something so obvious and very, very telling, or like, it's not exactly a hidden problem. So I'm going to use this to get a nice edge there. This is why in other software, other software, the navigator window comes in handy. Be able to see the small version of what you're doing. If you don't have that, you gotta zoom out. You gotta zoom out frequently, or step back if you're on a real canvas. Very nice. Side. Shift into another track here quickly for a bit. Well, quickly for 10 minutes. How are you finding this painting to study? Are you finding it challenging? I feel like this is one I need to spend a long time on to get it looking the way I want it. But that's the point of this. Take our time, just study a thing, wrestle with it. We're not trying to make an artwork for sale here, we're trying to refine our understanding. Definitely darker on here. And if you're wondering, this picture was just found down the rabbit hole of Pinterest. I missed the name of the photographer. But yeah, it's just, you're looking for reference, things to study. There's a lot of these still life photos to keep you busy for a while. This whole handle should come out. You can also set these sort of things up yourself at home if you've got the space and some interesting objects. Set up a lighting scenario. Oh, this is called a niche, aren't they? What do they call these little wall inlets? Niches as well, if I remember correctly. That's the word I was trying to find earlier. I find it really helpful to have my front pen button. If you have a shortcut button on your pen, your stylus, setting that to your eyedropper, I find is super convenient. I'm color picking all the time. I'll drop in a strong bit of color, and then I'll color pick next to it, dab over, back and forth, just to smooth out, blend, that paint. Been quite surprised how still life have become quite recently the one type of thing I can really sort of lose myself in trying to figure out, spend the time painting. Even when I'm struggling, I don't get as frustrated with it, and I think it's got something to do with if you're trying to work on your own artwork, your own ideas, you're way more attached to that outcome. And you're like, I'm going to make this cool image now, and that doesn't work, and you just start getting ratty with yourself. Something like this, like, okay, no, this is just to learn. It's just a still life. I'm not making this to sell to someone else's photograph. You can't sell that anyway, unless you've set something up yourself. I don't want to be known as a still life painter, but they're such great subjects for learning and finding like subtle things and sort of be as complex as we want them to be. I think for a while with the it's 10:08 on my side. With the classroom sessions, we'll do more of these kind of studies where we just spend time, just take time figuring these things out. I mentioned in the stream last night, I've been reading this book by Cal Newport called Deep Work, and trying to get away from all the distractions and learn how to really go into our work again. And I feel like this sort of subject matter, when I'm not talking all the damn time, it's a good stage for that, a good sort of training ground. So that was just sitting, let me just check my Facebook notifications, or it's just Insta. Sessions like this, we're all just here to draw together, kind of accountable to one another in a little way, without there really being much expectation. Player making progress. Oops, start menu. Very nice, Adina. Let's with walls like this, when there's so many different colors in the wall texture, it's so nice. It's such a fun one to play with. Nice that you're capturing that. Pride draws, going grayscale. Thanks for your contributions. You're not here anymore. Good values there. Good values. Where did my layer go? Here we go. So this should probably come up a little more. Step up the music a little bit. I'll be back in a moment. Try to stay zoomed out for a little while here. Oops. value here. If you're looking at color picker. Once we do all those fundamentals we did, everything just builds up from that. So I'm constantly checking, well, are those values right? Switch to grayscale here and compare. I feel like I'm kind of on track in terms of values. That makes me feel good, not gonna lie. This is going successfully. I can even color pick while in this grayscale mode. Just trying to smooth some things out. Yeah, a little bit more shadow. Not shadow, just the value isn't quite right. I need to bring out the edge over here a bit more by shifting the value down just a little bit. Just a little bit. This could be darker, let's say. It's interesting when working in this mode and wondering whether or not you're going to be getting your colors right, but it's the thing of, well, if we're in the shadows, and our lighting scenario was one way, then the colors are going to shift in a particular way. Ugh, which is a mess. Let's go back to color. Drop the opacity, make this smoother. So this shape needs to be a little stronger, a little triangle defining the bowl. There's a slightly darker section there to indicate the change in direction of the plane. feel like this. Edge, out that edge. And one of the things that something that took me a long time to, I suppose, train myself not to do was fiddle with unnecessary details too early. Like even the highlights on these tomatoes are probably a bit unnecessary so early on. I had to really make a very conscious effort to work more zoomed out to start and get as far into the painting as I could by pretty much working at a thumbnail size before then moving in, getting a closer look at things, getting a closer look at the mess. Bringing some textures there, Bruce. Yeah, that's actually a great idea. If one wants to bring textures into things, one can play with dropping in photo textures, for example, or looking at our custom shapes. There are a whole lot of nice like rock shapes here that when you expand them out can be a very nice texture. So if you have that on your layer, you can drop the opacity of it, maybe set it to overlay, reduce even more, and then we can kind of erase. Especially if you shift to an airbrush type thing with a soft round brush where the hardness is dropped all the way to 0, opacity and density is quite low, set to pressure. You can kind of neaten up. You don't need that texture on Doug, for example, so we can work it away. It's a subtle thing. And yeah, as Everest is down there, I see also set a clipping mask there, a clipping group, just that it all stays, doesn't spread out into everyone else's work. Just stay tied to the contents below. Nice stuff. Actually, having seen and said that, I shall let me do the same. Subtle thing, but adds a nice little extra bit of texture. I'm going to merge it down. I'm happy with how it is. And I can work on top of that. Lag. My Wi-Fi connection is misbehaving. Connection's unstable. Let me see if I can make some adjustments to my router quickly. Okay. Hopefully that solved my issues. One of many. Get into some details. What is this? Be interested to know what you've found to be the most challenging part of doing this particular study. For me, it's definitely been this this flame behind the color, the orange that's there around the flame on the wall. I found it getting that warm color looking right on this cool colored wall to be fairly challenging for me. Really challenging indeed. And I have to still get some of that warmth onto the jug as well. It's very subtle on the edge. So I'm going to drop that in and then go over it. Sorry, getting right up in my camera's face here. Ooh. Yeah, I could just zoom in on the canvas instead of like getting right in yet. Oops, that's way too big. Way too big. Do you guys have things that you tend to avoid drawing? Oh, it's going to have the power here. Specific things that you avoid drawing? Like, you know, for a lot of people, backgrounds are like super intimidating. Their characters will never have backgrounds because they're just like, no, I'm staying away from that. I don't know what to do. Backgrounds of my portraits are a thing I've avoided, that's for sure. Level up my portraits. Anyone watching, if you're into character design, Udi's going to be back next week, if I recall correctly, on Tuesday for his classroom session, which is all stylized character design. It's all really good stuff. Spotted Nicholas Cole recently, or just this week, launched his fantasy character design and Procreate course on Domestika. There's a flash sale today where it's only $10, which is a steal. Nicholas Cole's work is really cool. If you've seen his Jellybot stuff, it's really fun. I don't know if this sale could still be running, it's worth checking out. Let's have a look here. Yeah, fantasy character design and Procreate, still $10. I think it's going going to be this way for 4 days, the next 4 days. Looks like they're doing a site-wide flash sale. Here, what's our time here? 8:47 on my side. We've got, say, 10 minutes left for this session. I'm fairly happy with how this has come out in 2 hours. The handle definitely needs more form. Should do that. A little bit more red in there, actually. How do you guys feel about your work for the session? And overall, the subject matter, is it enjoyable, challenging, something you'd be keen to do more of? We will do landscape studies as well. And I do think we should do some buildings, more like landscape with buildings or little snippets out of the city. Something like that. Where we get to play a bit with perspective. Because we haven't really... I've touched on it very briefly in 1 or 2 streams, but I haven't kind of explained that. And that's another thing that is quite fundamental. Well, not quite, it's definitely fundamental. Whether you're doing portraits or landscapes or comics of somebody's bedroom. Quite pleased with the results, and this is quite a relaxing study. Great, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Oh, my internet is freaking out. Freaking out. Okay, I think we can wrap up there. Of course, you are welcome to continue if you'd like, but my internet says no for me, so I'm gonna have to end at the allocated time. Can't get a stroke in though. Okay, ladies and gents, I'm going to call it there and say that was a jolly nice stream. Quite enjoyed spending a bit more time on this. I did do a little quick trial run and a short study of this subject earlier just to make sure it was going to work for today. I'm glad we got to spend a little bit more time on it together. So next week, we'll be back with another classroom session. Udi's back on Tuesday with his character design workshops. Wednesday, we'll probably have the clubhouse. I mean, we're going to have a clubhouse next week. Either Wednesday or maybe we'll do it Saturday. But we shall see. And then Thursday, of course, back in the classroom again. So thank you very much, guys. Have a good rest of the week. And we shall chat soon. And layout.